Coming up on this week's edition of the Stony Brook News.
Is the opening of a new pie shop downport a part of the growing trend of female-owned businesses in the area?
Is a landfill in Brookhaven town making its residents sick?
Why are some trick-or-treaters trading in the classic orange buckets for blue ones?
And we explore how Diwali is more than a cultural tradition. Stay tuned for all this and more. Good afternoon and welcome to this week's edition of the Stony Brook News. I'm Ashley Gagan.
And I'm Daniel Marcillo. Election Day is less than a week away, but for the first time ever, New Yorkers are able to partake in a 9-day period of early voting, which began October 26th and ends November 3rd. Voters can choose from 25 different polling places across the island to cast their early ballots. According to the State Board of Elections, the first 2 days of early voting attracted a total of 51,458 voters. 8,595 were from Long Island. New York became the 39th state to allow early voting, but its 9-day period is below the average 19 allowed in other states. On Sunday, President Trump announced the death of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the leader of ISIS, explaining that during a raid in northwest Syria. The ISIS leader blew himself up when cornered by U.S. military personnel who conducted the 2-hour nighttime raid.
He ignited his vest, killing himself and the 3 children. His body was mutilated by the blast.
On Tuesday, the president took to Twitter to announce that the likely successor to al-Baghdadi had also died, tweeting, "Just confirmed that Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi's #1 replacement has been terminated by American troops. Most likely would have taken the top spot. Now he is also dead."
A new pie shop in Port Jefferson is a part of a larger trend of female-owned businesses downport. Liz Pulver has the story.
Lisa Harris's lifelong dream of opening a pie shop is now a reality. She just opened her new store, Tort Jeff, on downtown Port Jefferson's East Main Street.
I loved this space and really wanted to do something here, and I thought a pie shop would be a perfect addition to our already beautiful Port Jefferson.
Lisa is no stranger to opening businesses in the village. Over the past 2.5 years, she also opened the wildly popular donut shop East Main and Main and the restaurant Prohibition Kitchen, which are known for their Instagram-worthy menus that have earned them thousands of followers.
I'm one of those really weird people who just think up different food combinations and flavor combinations in my head all the time. I'm constantly thinking about it, whether I apply this at the donut shop or at the restaurant that I own or at the pie shop. It's just the way my brain works.
At Tort Jeff, these unique combinations found quick success.
We sold around 300 pies on our first weekend, which was really unexpected. So far so good.
Lisa Harris is not the only successful female entrepreneur in the village. In fact, nearly 70% of the businesses in Port Jefferson are owned by women, compared to the national statistic of 40%. Margot Garant is the mayor of Port Jefferson and also owns her own law practice in the village. She said that over the last 5 years, the amount of women-owned businesses in the village has skyrocketed.
Of course, running a business, you have to be very dynamic. You have to be a jack of all trades. And, it takes a woman, after all. I really hope that Port Jefferson is now setting a new trend and being, so dominated by powerful women. I think it's fantastic.
Renee Goldfarb owns the clothing boutique Origin of Era in the village. She believes that the increase in female entrepreneurs in Port Jefferson is happening at a vital time.
Unfortunately, it does have a lot to do with the political climate, and I think it's more important than ever that we step up and we basically show everybody that we're capable of doing what any man can.
Harris says that women are drawn to the village when they hear about how well others are doing.
Roughly 64 to 68% of the businesses in town are owned by females. I think in this town, that's what motivates other women to open it, because they feel comfortable and they see other females owning businesses.
Lisa Harris is already working to open another restaurant on Port Jeff's Main Street called Fork and Fiddle.
Opening the next restaurant will be a much bigger undertaking, and I think I'm done after this. I feel satisfied.
For the Stony Brook News, I'm Liz Pulver.
Right in the middle of Brookhaven, a toxic landfill has residents and a school suffering from sickness and disease. I spoke to some local residents affected by the issue. Frank P. Long Intermediate School sits just a mile south of the Brookhaven landfill in Bellport. For decades, teachers and students have said that the chemicals from the landfill have caused chronic illnesses, vomiting, tremors, nosebleeds, and cancer. Since 1997, there have been 37 faculty members diagnosed with cancer. 17 have died.
Why these children are getting sick? Why are they having headaches? Why are they having mystery rashes? You know, even if some of the illnesses may not be related, maybe they're coincidences. There's enough. The numbers don't lie. In one room, there was 5 cancers in one room.
Caroline Wilkinson's son, James, was in 4th grade when he started to feel ill. He experienced rashes, nausea, and eventually had to use a wheelchair, which caused him to be homeschooled. Wilkinson said that he is still unable to even swing in a playground because he will get motion sickness.
Started off with getting slowly progressive tics, verbal tics, that subsided in the summer, and then got worse, and then the stomach, then the migraines, then the mysterious rashes. So I took him to so many different doctors, and nobody could figure out a reason for it. He's missed almost 3 years of his childhood.
Teachers and faculty at Frank P. Long conducted independent tests of the air and sand quality of the school, which detected cancer-causing chemicals benzene, ethylbenzene, and tetrachloroethylene in multiple parts of the building. According to EPA standards, these findings classify the school as a sick building. The town of Brookhaven was not available for comment. In 2018, the South Country School District conducted their own test that concluded all parameters assessed to be normal for a building in Suffolk County, which means students have no other option but to attend.
It's sad. It's just sad because the children are mandated to go to school. And if you get a headache while going to school, what are you supposed to do? What are your options? There aren't any, unless you have enough money to pay for private school.
We have seen the effects the landfill has on the children, the community, and the school, but what else can actually be done to fix the problem for the future?
Now either A, you're going to truck the ash off of Long Island, or B, you're going to shut the waste entry plants, and you're going to transport the solid waste off of Long Island. In either case, truck traffic is definitely going to increase, but look at where we'd have to truck this material to dispose of it. I mean, it's not like right around the corner. We'll be trucking this stuff for hundreds of miles.
While it won't fix everything, the State Department of Environmental Conservation has ordered the town of Brookhaven to take immediate steps to get rid of the odors from the landfill or pay $178,000 in fines.
Moving on to sports, reporter Quarry Aline is here to get you up to speed on the Seawolves. Quarry?
Thank you, Ashley. The Seawolves took on the number 5 ranked Villanova Wildcats on the road this past Saturday, in a game that was one for the ages. To the 4th, freshman Tyson Lawton would have his second look at pay dirt on this run right here. It looked like it was good. The officials ended up calling it off. But the Seawolves didn't fret as Tyquell Fields took it in on a sneak, putting the Seawolves down by 2, 33-35. Now right here, Seawolves coach Chuck Priori opted to go for 2. Tyquell Fields delivers a dart to freshman Marcus Velez and he drops it. Tough break for the freshman, but the Seawolves did not hang their heads. With 12 seconds left, a composed quarterback in Tyquell Fields stepped up in the pocket and delivered a beauty downfield to his go-to guy, Nick Anderson, all the way down to Nova's 5-yard line. Now, all the Seawolves had to do was convert on the field goal with 6 seconds left, and the game was theirs. And the Seawolves' main man, Nick Courtney, stepped up in clutch as he's done all season. 22-yard kick is up, and it's good. The Seawolves win a hard-fought battle on the road, 36-35. Fields will go on to finish with 320 yards and 1 touchdown on 21 completions. Stony Brook advances to 5-3 on the season with the win and are slated to take on Richmond this Saturday. That's all for sports.
Thank you, Quarry. Halloween is tomorrow, and you may see some children carrying around blue jack-o'-lantern buckets instead of the traditional orange ones. I went out and explored it further. Laurel resident Maria Giraldo's 6-year-old son, Jeffrey, may be non-verbally autistic, but Halloween is a holiday that he loves.
He likes the Halloween. He likes to dress up. He's a happy boy all the time. I can say trick or treat for him, and my neighbors, they know he's autistic.
Maria is one of many who support a campaign that went viral recently. Amaris Taylor's Facebook post has over 30,000 Facebook likes, over 150,000 shares across social media, and has gained media attention across the country. Taylor has a nonverbal autistic son, which makes trick-or-treating challenging. In her Facebook post, Taylor says last year on Halloween, she would have to explain why her son was not saying trick-or-treat. This year, she hopes that the Blue Buckets will bring awareness to families to be mindful of autistic trick-or-treaters.
No, I think it's a good idea. It's something different for the other child. They need to little understand or know about these other kids.
A spokesperson from Autism Speaks says that they encourage families to find their own unique ways to make Halloween an enjoyable night for anyone on the spectrum. Mark Rosen, an autism activist who is also autistic, believes that the Blue Bucket post is a bad look for those with autism.
I actually think that it's a bad idea. It's forced disclosure and an unnecessary contact. They're at the door, they have a bucket or a bag, it's obvious what they're there for. It puts the child at increased risk for abduction or other harm because it gives a strong clue to potential abductors or abusers that this is someone who may be less able to fight back or call for help.
While Mark disagrees with this campaign, other autism activists like former CEO of Autism Speaks, Allison Singer, believes that this campaign brings the needed awareness to autistic trick-or-treaters.
What these buckets do is they basically tell families when these kids are approaching their door in their costume, even if they look a little too old to be trick-or-treating, it's a subtle way of communicating their actual intellectual age.
Whether it's carrying around a different bucket, wearing a noticeable badge, it's important for everyone to enjoy trick-or-treating.
Diwali, a widely celebrated Indian tradition, was held at the Wang Center this past Wednesday. Nirvani Williams has the story.
Falah Jalali is on her way to a Diwali celebration held at the Wang Center on campus last Wednesday. The auditorium was filled with a diverse audience celebrating the ancient Indian holiday. Diwali is celebrated by more than 1 billion people around the world. Indian Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs alike gather every year to light oil lamps that dispel the darkness of ignorance. Falah, a Muslim minority in UP, India, says she finds more acceptance celebrating Diwali in Long Island than in her home in North India. Although a large majority of Muslims practice Islam, the Muslim majority in India have celebrated both Hindu and Muslim traditions peacefully until now.
Because of this, super Hindu extremist narrative that was being told in the media and in politics, I became aware of what makes me Muslim, which is different from what makes me Indian. I started looking at the differences between an Indian Muslim and an Indian Hindu, which I have never done in my life. So for me to analyze all those things as like my identity, it was psychologically really hard to do. And I know I have cried so many nights because it feels like they don't want you here.
But some openly deny that the conflict exists.
It looks as though there is tension and there is conflict and so on, and that is really not true. So for the most part, Hindus and Muslims do get along very well, and they share a lot of common ideals in terms of how to build the country and how to accommodate each other's religious practices and differences. And there are clearly differences.
However, there are multiple reports citing unrest among Muslims in India since the inauguration of the current Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, and his Hindu Nationalist Party in 2014. Modi is targeting Muslims to create a primarily Hindu state in India. A Washington Post article cites that more than 2,000 Muslims have been killed in India, with Mumbai witnessing 500 murders alone in 2018. In a New York Times article about the Hindu nationalist surge in India, a Muslim Indian business owner said, "I could be lynched right now and nobody would do anything about it." Falah says that the main issue is that hatred is not being addressed and realized by enough people.
What's happening in India is bad because the majority of the educated middle-class Hindus are quiet about it. That's why it's happening. That's why even I don't want to say that majority of Hindus hate Muslims. We've been living there for so long, it's impossible. But this small fringe group, that is promoting this hate, they are able to do this because these people are quiet.
The ongoing targeting of Muslims in India must not be ignored. For the Stony Brook News, I'm Nirvani Williams.
That's all we have this week on this week's edition of the Stony Brook News. I'm Ashley Gagan.
And I'm Daniel Marcello. Have a good night, Seawolves.